Weinberg and his wife Lila founded this event 30 years ago. I used to spend time in this park in the 60s before they found it, when this park was really, if you wanted to meet strange people, they were not speaking on soapboxes. They were doing other unbelievably strange things in this park that we thought was so intriguing. You know, Mom, Dad, there are people who have sex in a park. Then Studs took over, Studs Circle. Y'all know and remember Studs Circle? He's buried right over there, under a tree. I've shown you, haven't I? I showed you years past. I'd happily show, there's no marker, there's no, in typical Studs fashion. Ida died almost 10 years before he did, his lovely wife of almost 60 years. And he kept her ashes in a little urn at his house on the north side, next to a vase of fresh daisies, which were her favorite flowers. And when he decided, I used to hate it when he'd say, Rick, I gotta tell you what, I want to tell you what to do when I die. And I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. He wanted his ashes mixed with Ida's and buried in Bughouse Square. And I said, well, you know, Studs, that's against the law. And he said, that's fine, let them sue us. I don't know if anybody sued him. We were expecting Brian Hopkins, the alderman of the ward, to be here, but he lives in the same building I do. His baby is sick. His baby is very cute, so I hope his baby gets well. Before I introduce David, because he's an alderman, I'm going to tell you my favorite alderman story, which says a great deal about Chicago politics. The former alderman, maybe some of you have heard of him, of the 43rd Ward, was a fellow named Paddy Bauler. Who's heard of him? You've heard of him for one famous quote. The day that Richard J. Daley was elected mayor in 1955, he is the man who said in his saloon at 403 West North Avenue, Chicago ain't ready for reform. It seems that is so still true. Paddy was in love with my father, not a bromance, because we didn't have those kind of things. He was in love with my father because my father had written about the two most corrupt aldermen in the history of this fine city. John Bathhouse, John Coughlin, and Michael Hinky Dick Kenna, who were the co-aldermen of the notorious First Ward. So Paddy would occasionally have my father over at the bar for drinks, and Paddy was famous for being able to take a foreign trip whenever he felt like it. He would always be flying to Hong Kong. This is in the 60s, flying to Germany, and one day he's trying to convince my father to accompany him on a trip to Germany. He's like, Herm, come on, come with me to Germany, come with me to Germany. We'll go to Munich, and they've got these great beer halls, and they've got this great stuff there. They love me there. You'll be treated like a king. My father is, well, no, Paddy, I have too much to do. The kids, and I have work. Nah, come on, Herm, you gotta come with me. They've got the greatest city in the world. It's a wonderful city. So for about 10 minutes, my father is trying to put him off and not go on this trip. Paddy is unrelenting in his fat Slav way. Come on, Herm, you gotta do this. You gotta come with me. Now I'm making Paddy Bauler sound like Studs. You gotta do this. You gotta come with me. So finally, after 10 frustrating minutes, my father says, look, Paddy, I'm Jewish. I am not about to go to Munich and sit in the very beer halls where Adolf Hitler and his thugs formed the Nazi Party. I just cannot, as a Jew, do that. So as my father describes it, Paddy gets this sort of mystified look on his big fat face, and he rubs his face and he says, ah, geez, Herm, can't you let bygones be bygones? That's my Chicago alderman story.